Either way, that's what we're gonna watch. A realistic guide on changing your career to become a game dev. Can you become a game dev? I don't know. Let's find out. Alright, I'm gonna put here a subtitles. These are auto-generated. Well, I guess still better than nothing. Let's just speed it up.
Are you dreaming of quitting your regular boring job and becoming a game developer? Don't worry, I'm not gonna
Are you guys? Okay, no, never mind. I'm gonna stop messing around. I quite love my job.
tell you for $3,000 on how to burn 10K a month as a game developer working 4 hours a week. But I do want to talk to you about how do you get into the games industry when you don't really have any prior experience in it. Why listen to me? I used to work as a data center engineer. So I used to create networks basically for, data centers, very boring, paid quite well, but I was sick of that job. And I pivoted to being a game developer. I also pivoted to content creator.
Game involver. Guys, that's how you can become a game involver. Well, either way, he's coming from a programming background, which I feel like coming from programming background to game development is the easiest possible possible step you can get into it. I guess as an artist, I feel like it's much more difficult. I would still keep the same advice. Make very small projects. Every time you make a next project, you're gonna make a little bit bigger project. Or I would even discourage you to work on bigger projects until you finish few small ones. By far, the best way how to learn making games is to make very small projects, and every project you make a slightly bigger, slightly more advanced, slightly more ambitious project than you did before. I would absolutely not even try to work on big projects. Make small mobile games, make web games, make very, very simple horror games. Just don't worry about it and make some cool stuff. Okay, let's continue listening to the game involver here.
With these videos, but I feel like I do have some experience with the entire process of, going into a completely new industry after already some prior experience in a different career and honestly making it somewhat successful. Nothing too crazy right now, but we're getting there. And I'm bringing you guys along with me for the ride. So let's talk a bit about how do you do the same thing that I have done. I had no experience. I knew a little bit how to program, but honestly, I don't program in my day-to-day job anymore.
Oh, wait, what? Wasn't he data scientist? He doesn't program? He probably wasn't a very good data scientist. I'm joking, just to be clear. I haven't done much data science to really honestly say that. I'm not trying to put the person down here. It's possible that he may actually have done a very good job and not program much. I'm just messing around here. But it sounds pretty funny. Like, don't worry, I'm a programmer. I just don't program much. Even though some jobs tend to be like that, to be fair.
Or now, I had no experience in 3D modeling, no experience in art, nothing in game design.
You don't need experience in 3D modeling or art if you want to make games, and you don't need experience in programming if you want to make games. You don't need any experience. You just need to want to make games. That's it.
To play a bunch of games, but not really like that much of a variety. Just mainly Call of Duty, which is not an indie game and like not really related to what I'm doing now. But still, here I am. And the first thing I want to say is it's going to be a hard leap. It's not going to be easy in the beginning because,
I guess it really depends where you're coming from. But yeah, for sure. Like, I feel like any change of career is going to be pretty tough. You're completely changing everything we are doing. I mean, you may literally like the change. I don't know. To be fair, I have no experience in transitioning careers. I have been wanting and working on games since I was like 14. Probably even way earlier than that. But since 14, since I was like fairly serious. So it's difficult to say. But it's gonna take time. You gotta learn. There is a lot to learn. There is a lot of tools that make it much easier now, but you still are gonna have a lot of work in front of you.
It is basically like graduating all over again and just barely getting started in a job.
Oh, I don't know. I never graduated.
Or like the wrong previous experience to apply at break.
Oh, good news, guys. Diploma doesn't matter at all. No one cares about your diploma.
Game dev companies. That's no problem. The only requirement is you're probably going to have to go indie because nobody is going to hire someone.
That's not true. You don't have to go indie if you want a transition career. That's absolutely not true. Maybe for game indie studio, but no way you have to start making your own games and your own indie games. If you want to, you can, of course, but it's just not true that you have to go indie if you want to transition careers. If you are good enough, you are going to get hired. It's as simple as that.
One with no prior experience, with no resume really that is related to game development or no prior schooling. But that shouldn't hold you back in just starting.
Yeah, sure. If you have no experience, no schooling, and no portfolio, then sure, you are not gonna get hired. I would say you need to be good at least one part of making games. For example, Undertale music is awesome, but the programming is absolutely awful. I suppose so. I don't know how the Undertale is programmed, but the point was that when you are just starting to make games, you don't need to know anything. To make a game, you don't really need to know anything. You are gonna learn by making that game. That's how you learn. You make games, and because you want to make a game and you have a specific goal you are trying to achieve, you have some process that you want to follow to make it, and by doing that process you are gonna learn. I don't necessarily mean that you can switch jobs by not having any experience, of course. I'm saying that it's fairly easy to just learn in your own time, and once you learn and you are good enough, you can transition jobs, and you can just make a work as indie developer as well.
Making the best of it. Because I want to start with one of the big advantages that you have, and that is you have prior experience already. Maybe not.
That's true. That's actually true. I feel like that's very, very underrated. Everything you learn is gonna be useful to you. In a job that I have right now, I'm education coordinator and mentor at GameReady. A lot of the skills that are not necessarily Unreal Engine and programming related were very helpful, like video editing, understanding some business basics, understanding social media, understanding marketing. A lot of the things I learned by doing YouTube, and also because I was doing a YouTube, it was easier for me to get a job because I could demonstrate that I can teach. Right? So I would not look down on the previous experiences you have, the previous interests you have. They can be very, very helpful. So whatever niche, curious interest, side projects you want to make, definitely worth pursuing it because you never know when it's going to be helpful later. I've also gotten a lot of clients when I was freelancing as a game developer, just simply by showing my work. I have done a bunch of YouTube videos and a bunch of just open source projects and got a lot of clients because of that, because my work is visible. So definitely something to keep in mind.
Development specifically, but you have experience in an industry. This can be really valuable in just figuring out what game am I going to make, can also give you a leg up into what makes your game unique maybe, or can just help you with solving. And I think a great example of this is in Ford Industry. Our path finding algorithm is actually kind of based upon a routing algorithm that traditional data center routers use, OSPF.
Oh, that's interesting. That's actually very interesting. I think it was, what was his name? Main developer who made SimCity. Will Wright. There is a really interesting documentary that talks about where he talks about how he comes up with ideas for games and how he figures out his designs and where he takes inspirations from. And surprise, surprise, most of it is just from books about economy, the books about I think it was about ant colonies. That's where he got most of his ideas. So definitely something to keep in mind, guys. Inspiration and experience can come from anywhere. Especially for game designers. For someone who wants to make games, you really need to have kind of other interests than games, which is kind of weird, but you need to know a lot about games, and you also want to have a lot of different interests, because from those you can take inspiration and kind of cross-learn it and cross-connect it, and that's where the most creative ideas come from, in combining things that were not combined before. Yes, we can see here.
There. Would a regular game developer have made something similar? Maybe, but for me, we immediately had the answer to how are we going to solve this problem of, our workers colliding with each other. Maybe you come from a very specific domain, I don't know, real estate, something really boring. Well, that's the perfect background to make a game such as like House Flipper. It may seem like, true, what does this matter? But true. These games, usually they require domain knowledge in whatever you're doing. If you are like an oil rig operator or whatever, for all I care, make oil rig simulator, make it somewhat realistic, and you'll probably already have a market.
Okay, guys, do you have an idea for a job that can be completely useless when transitioning to game dev? Give me some ideas in chat. I wanna see the job that's completely and utterly useless. No matter how good you are at it, it's completely useless when going to switching to game dev. Yeah, and you in the comments as well, guys. I wanna know what's the worst possible job. Packaging machine operator. I can't see that. Like, imagine a VR game when you are making the process of packaging it, and it starts going more and more absurd. Like, you have to package, like, I don't know, babies. You have to package pizzas, and you have to package, I know, alien delivery. That's kind of the thing. Like, you can leverage it everywhere. I am thinking that there is maybe not even a job that you can use where the experience related to it are not relevant. Kind of fascinating when you think about it. But yeah, definitely a good point by Bite Me Games. Definitely a good point.
And you'll actually have more credibility because you have previous experience in operating oil rigs compared to just making games and then like reading a book on oil rigs once or being just like, let's assume this is how an oil rig works. Also, because you're going to be older and because you're going to be shaped by more traditional workplaces, this is also greatly going to improve how good you are going to be talking with publishers. Because publishers, you just have an older look to yourself. You look like you know what you're doing more, and
Side note, you don't need publishers. If you are trying to finance it, then yeah, sure, you probably need some sort of a publisher. But if you're just trying to release your game, don't need a publisher.
You have more of the soft skills of having a firm handshake when you go into.
Very true, though.
It may sound really dumb, but this helps a lot compared to the scrawny 20-year-old kid who just graduated from university and he has a great idea.
Yeah, I think that's a thing that there's a lot of skills, like weird small skills that you learn only after working for a few years or after being out of college, high school, or whatever. And you don't know that until you are out of high school. But once you see that after you are some multiple years outside of the high school, you just learn so many small stuff, like how to properly present yourself, how to write a good email, how to understand what not to say, and you just don't know that because school is useless at teaching you these things. So very good point. I think there was even a statistics that the companies and startups founded by people who were over 40 or over 50 had like several 100% times a more likelihood of succeeding than a startup started by like 20-year-old. talking about myself being a 20-year-old. I'm not 20-year-old. I'm a bit older than that, but hey, I would say waiter. I can imagine a game about being a waiter, but anybody can really imagine how it works. I guess so. But on the other hand, I have never been a waiter, but I have heard a lot of people who were waiter and talked about the crazy experiences they had there. Just imagine this whole social game where you are a waiter, but you are actually trying to become a boss of the place, and that the restaurant where you are being a waiter is actually owned by mafia, and you have to kind of navigate these situations where if you like say wrong things to a customer or wrong things to your boss, you are gonna get killed. It's actually a survival game where you have to use your social skills not to die. There's so many interesting spins that you can put there, and because you understand how the social dynamics go, and I would not underestimate waiters in that. Their social skills are gonna be so much better than someone who wasn't waiter. I think there's some definitely interesting insight that can be have there. Not that I have it, but for sure.
Idea he's going to pitch and he's going to change the world of game dev. Publishers, they see dozens of those, but they don't see someone like you who already has years of experience in like planning, making good proposals, and having a realistic view upon money and things like that. That can give you a massive leg up as well. These are already some advantages, so don't feel too discouraged.
You know how to speak with people. I felt mostly younger people, me included when I was younger, just don't know how to talk. It's weird. Like you don't know how to speak with people, and you learn that by speaking with people. So it kind of makes sense. If you are in a very isolated environment like school, you are not gonna learn how to speak very well. But if you are in the environment where you actually have to speak, you are forced to speak, otherwise you're gonna get kicked out, you're gonna learn it pretty fast. I feel like that's also the best way how to learn language. I learned English because I went over the summer in England, and I worked there at the lowest possible paying job, but I stayed there for 2 months and learned how to speak. Badly, but I learned how to speak. So I would say that's definitely complete immersion. That's really helpful, and you can't really learn without it. I don't think I would be able to be even close to conversation English if I didn't have that experience.
The unknown, because the fact that you're going into the unknown is resulted a bit by that prior experience. Now, I do want to say you are still very much going to be overwhelmed. There's so much you're going to have.
You're gonna see, guys. That's look at that average game developer experience.
Very much.
Yes, indeed, average game developer experience. Crying in shower. Tell me the truth, guys. How many of you are watching me from shower looking like this? Come on, don't play with me. I know that's the case.
Overwhelmed. There's so much you're going to have to learn, so many things you aren't going to be prepared for, and you are probably going to have to learn a lot and be stressed and maybe have some sleepless nights, and things may look like, they're bringing you down a bit, but still, game dev is probably the solution. I made a video as well about why are you a game developer, so having a very strong...
Why are you a game developer? Why are you a game developer?
Especially if you are transitioning from a regular job, maybe after 10 years of working, you may have a very strong why, such as escaping a toxic work environment or a bad commute, things like that. For the good
luck. If you are escaping a toxic work environment and going into game dev industry, then I have a bad news for you, my friend. Not true if you are being an indie game or working from home or whatnot, but yeah, game development industry is not known for being particularly friendly, especially to newcomers.
Keep on working and keep performing. Most likely you'll also be starting as a solo developer, which is like playing game dev on hard mode, for which I wish you the best of luck.
That's kind of true. I guess that's kind of true.
No, you can do it if you have a good why, and we have plenty of videos on this channel as well, aimed specifically at solo developers, so take a look at those as well. What I would suggest,
plenty of video, guys. If it's something interesting to you, you should go check it out.
So don't immediately jump into a big game, but participate in game jams first. This is also good to do if you're still...
Very true. 100% I stand behind this. One of the best ways how to start with game dev, even if you don't know anything, do game jams. Spend first year by making a game jam make 20 game jams, make 30, 40 game jams, maybe even more. You are gonna in that year learn so much, such an insane amount of things. And for that game jam, take some specific focus and focus on that thing. Like let's say you have a game jam where you want to really focus on making good AI. Like you want to get better at making path navigating AI. And you're going to do that. And some other game jam, you're going to make it even better. And rewrite the system. I don't mean you should take it. Depends on the rules of the game jam. Either way, do game jams. Game jams are just simulated environment when you can make a lot of small projects. And with a deadline. That's such an insanely good way how to learn. The game jams are absolutely underrated.
Working your regular job, because they are usually very time limited. It's like one weekend, and it will allow you to learn what are your strengths and your weaknesses in game development already. Because you have such a short period, maybe you'll find out that, hey, actually I'm pretty good at pixel art, or I'm pretty good at 3D modeling, or I'm a pretty decent coder. It can also tell you which things should you improve on. Maybe look at hiring someone the moment that you get started, and can save you a lot of time once you actually quit your main job, break into the games industry, and just go at it on your own. Another big thing that I want to tell you.
So, one thing I would say, I'm not sure, maybe that's the same thing that our comrade here is trying to say. Don't quit your job, guys. If you have saved up a lot of money, then sure, like you know you. If you have saved up a lot of money, you understand finances well enough that then you are not here to listen to me. Don't just quit your job when you don't have any money and I'll like be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get the game dev job. No, just don't. Not a good idea. That is so true. I was always bad at finishing my games because I always had an insane scope for my games, and game jams helped so much. Absolutely, 100%. I am 100% behind that point. Game jams are amazing at helping you and teaching you how to scope.
What you need to do is engage in your local indie community. No matter which country you live in, even if you live in like, I don't know, Saudi Arabia, I've talked to some people there, there's still an indie community. It's usually not that big, but there is.
I don't know. It depends up to you. I think online communities are really cool. I don't think you have to have a local community. You can have just a online community. If you listen to this video, you can speak English. Let's be clear here. You can understand English. Join Discords. Join, well, probably not subreddits. I'm not sure if I would, with a good enough conscience, send someone on any subreddit. Just join Discords, join Facebook groups if that still exists, and find your people there. Share your stuff. You're gonna get some feedback. Someone's gonna yell at you, but it's gonna be fun. It's interesting. You don't have to find a local community. I guess you can if you like in-person contact. I am not particularly a fan, so I would definitely quite recommend online communities as well, and so much more accessible to you as well, right?
Great places to look at are like Eventbrite or Meetup, depending on where you are. Just look up like game dev or indie, and you'll probably find something like an event at least. You go there because it's going to teach you a lot about like your country's industry. When we started, nobody knew us and nobody cared about who we are as like Bite Me Games studio. We just booked one of the booths at like our country's gaming convention and just showcased our game, and nobody had heard of us before, and people just came up to us and were like, who are you? We've never seen you anywhere. You don't go to like any of the regular game dev related schools, things like that. This way you can learn a lot by engaging with these communities, because often there may be some government subsidies that you wouldn't have known about otherwise, or some coaching programs, things like that you could get more information about. Publishers,
was that GDC?
Subsidies that you wouldn't have known about otherwise, or some coaching programs, things like that you...
Yeah, it is. Also, GDC, guys, if you're looking for good education by experts, GDC, YouTube, very, very good resource. Definitely recommend.
You could get more information about publishers, accelerators, incubators, all of those things. Having some people in the community who've gone through it before will save you a lot of time as well. And honestly, you're probably not going to be that unique. Probably some other guy a few years ago also quit his job and managed to make a company. He'll also be able to probably give you much more aimed answers to whatever questions or problems you may be.
I suppose there's some truth to that. You're going to get people who have same experience, but again, the likelihood of finding there's someone online is just easier because the barrier of entry is so much smaller.
What I also think is like a little point that you should do here is make yourself memorable. One of the things that we can do really well is have this...
Make yourself memorable, guys. Does not matter what you're gonna do, make an impression. Doesn't matter what impression, just make an impression. Super, super important, right? No matter how are you gonna do it, make an impression.
Engaging story that makes sure that people remember us. When I go to that community, we have like this very dreamy story of, we booked that booth at a gaming convention with only 2 months notice, and we had to make a demo. So we started crunching on it, but it was an awesome experience. And, that's the indie dream that we're living there. People remember us by that story. Don't just be your average Joe. Like,
other people call it overworking, but that's fine. To be fair, I really love working a lot. So just to be clear, I'm making fun of it, but yeah, there is something really cool about working a lot. It feels great. Yeah, if you are working a lot on something that you like, it feels so good.
Oh, hey, barely talk has like a weak handshake and like just stand silent. No, talk to people, show them that you have experience. Maybe you can help them out. Maybe they can help you out, and get some context, because you're going to need every bit of help you can get in becoming more of a full-time game developer. And then probably the biggest advantage you are going to have over like college graduates who have more skills than you is you're going to have money. Sweet, sweet money. You're probably going to have some savings.
Assuming you have money, guys, okay? If you don't have money, don't listen to this point. Important.
Maybe you've even paid off your house already if you're like a bit older. This is godly. This allows you to just outperform and outcompete most of the young startups who maybe have student loans or barely have any savings. They're still trying to see if they can get a house.
I mean, yeah, that's like a good old truth. Like, if you have money, you have a huge advantage. Guys, it's simple. Just have money.
An apartment. There's growth in this economy, by the way. So
to be fair to the author here, Bite Me Games, it's quite likely that if you are switching jobs and have had a fairly successful career before, that you have money. Just to be clear, that's the audience he's talking to. But it's pretty funny.
And regardless there, what that runway allows you to do is it lets you fail a bit. It lets you play around, whereas these other younger studios, they usually can't sustain themselves yet, because you need an initial amount of funding to make your first game, because you won't be making any money for that period, and you can go to publishers, but you can't just pitch it.
Probably after that. Don't expect your first game to make any money, to be fair.
Publishers, you need to have a prototype already, or even a vertical slice, before they'll even give you any money. So what you see with a lot of these younger studios is, they're work for hire a few days a week, or they're also working in another company.
That's fine. It's sustainable.
Like, they're off hours and making their own indie games. You can dominate them by just not having to care about that, by only having to care about making your game. So what I suggest is make your runway as long as possible. See however much you have saved. Look into how much do I on average spend in a month. Look at, okay, assuming that I'm not making any money anymore, what is like my minimum expenses to just live? So let's say you don't go out to like restaurants all the time, and see how long can I just sustain that. Ideally, have at least 6 months of runway, and if you can go up to 2 years, that's even better. And this will allow you so much.
Like, 2 years is tough. I mean, I am all for that. Having saved up a lot of money is definitely very helpful and feels great. But having saved up 2 years of expensive is tough. I can see that being very difficult for a lot of people. But again, talking about the person here, this Bite Me Games, is talking to people who already have somewhat successful careers. So I suppose that's a bit more realistic. But on the other hand, those people are likely have mortgages. They have family, wife and kids and all that. And so expenses are also much higher. So I'm not so sure if that's actually easier to save for 2 years of expenses later in life. Don't know. I'm not there. You can let me know, guys. What do you think? But yeah, shall see.
Just try out stuff, learn, make some mistakes, but still on time, figure out what you're going to do and make a successful game. Because that's
just make the game successful, guys. If it's simple, you just have to make the game successful. If you do that, you're gonna win. Why don't you just make it successful? Why didn't I think of that?
Making games is hard, but you're going to need to be persistent. Your first game, probably going to barely get any sales. Second game,
probably. That's true. That's very true.
Probably also not going to be that much. But both of these games are going to teach you so much about not just making your game.
That's a good point. Very good point.
Marketing it, supporting games, dealing with all the boring financial stuff. I can guarantee you, if you make multiple, like not a game jam, but like actual, like somewhat polished games, by the third or the fourth one, you're going to know what to do. You're going to have much more experience already. You're going to know how to set up a Steam page, how to maybe look into advertising or make some YouTube videos on the side, all these random things to help make your game more of a success. You're going to know how to price and all of these things, probably have some relationships with publishers as well. All of these things are greatly going to help you, but you need runway in order to be able to afford them. If you have that strong why, that strong reason to be a developer, you're probably going to make it. I have pretty good confidence in you, at least if you watch all the videos that we make.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Should put you on the right path to somewhat success. Are you currently considering, like, just dreaming of it? Let me know in the comments down below. I love to interact with you guys. If you're new around here, we're a game development studio consisting of multiple people who all of us didn't have any experience with game development before. We decided to make a studio, and we're making videos as well about the things we learn, make things about game development in general, and just show some behind the scenes of a real indie studio. If that's something that interests you, be sure to head down below and subscribe.
Okay, guys, if that's something you are curious about, go check them out. I'm gonna drop you, I already dropped the link, but I'm gonna drop it again. And for you guys watching on YouTube, you're gonna have a link in the description. In a bit of a conclusion, the tip is actually not bad, I would say. Probably pretty cool. If you are just looking to switch jobs, this seems like a pretty good tip. I don't have much experience with that. Most of the tips in learning how to do game dev, I would mostly agree with plus with the comments I had here and there. But yeah, not bad. Gonna put here a like. I think that's enough reactive content for today. And we can get into a bit more development again.